Hi everyone, blessed be, and I decided to set up my altar ready for Ostara, which is on around about 20th, 21st of March. In the UK, the solstice is officially on Saturday the 20th, so that's when I'm celebrating. So first of all, obviously I need to clear off my altar from the last Sabbath and give it a clean. And I did still keep the Bridget card and the Bridget doll. I've still got them. They're just over on the other side of the same cupboard. I do want to keep that on display as like a little mini Bridget altar. So cleaned off everything and just wiped it over to get rid of any dust. And then lit an incense stick as usual, which you'll see in a second, and just spread that over the area as well. And then I was going to put a cloth, which you'll see me try a look and fiddle about with, but I didn't quite like how it was working and changed my mind, so you'll see me take that off in a little bit. For this altar space, I didn't have like an idea in mind how I wanted it to look before I started. I just went with sort of doing it quite intuitively, and the ideas for the altar space developed over time as I was placing objects and looking at things around the room that I wanted to use. So I was going to use this white cloth, but I couldn't get it to sit right and it just looked weird, so I changed my mind and just left it with the wood. I might get like some smaller pieces of cloth that I can just lay on this table without it hanging over the edge or wrinkling up, that I can use. And first of all, I was going to use my little fake painted eggs that I bought last year. I had these on my altar for last year for Ostara. I was going to use them at first, but I changed my mind and went with more of a spring theme, which you'll see a bit later on. So first of all, I'm figuring out how I'm going to get everything to sort of stay in place. And I've got this little flower crown and these little eggs that I put in the centre of the altar space first. And then what I'm doing is going around my room and finding the other bits that I wanted to use. I've got this little ceramic cup, and I wanted to put the big pink flower in there. I've normally got that on the other side of the room, but decided to add it to my altar space because obviously it's going to be spring. I wanted to have more flowers and make it look more spring-like. In that silvery coloured dish, I've got some potpourri that I made, and there is with rose petals, and then there is actually a real egg in there, like an eggshell that I found last year in the garden. I think it's from the robins. I'm not sure. It's a little white egg, and I found, well, it was like the shell of it, and I kept it. I found it on the ground, so obviously what it must have been is the birds were cleaning out the nest after the babies had hatched and everything. And just on the little path by my shed at the top of the garden was this little half an egg, and yeah. So that's in there, and I thought that was quite fitting to have it on there. Crystals associated with Ostara would be like rose quartz and citrine and clear quartz. So as you can see on the left, I've put my rose quartz pieces. Just be careful with crystals, like if you've got them in sunlight, they do fade, but I don't always have the curtains open in here, so it doesn't always get sunny like this. If I'm in here working and it's quite sunny, I do cover the crystals up just to stop them fading, because some will fade in sunlight, especially like citrine, amethyst, rose quartz. They'll fade in direct sunlight. And then it was a case of moving a few things around. My stag ornament is always on my altar space with my candle. And it's just a case of positioning those and finding where they're going to go. Sorry about that. I was trying to yawn and talk at the same time. So I'm just placing things that I want to have on the altar space and just going with what feels right. I took the little snowflake thing off my little jar because that's got hasn't got moon water in at the moment, so I wanted to take the little, and I normally have, I had, the last time I filled it up it had snow water in, which is why it had the little snowflake symbol on it, but I took that off. And obviously it's a sun festival, so I wanted to make sure I'd got elements of the sun on the altar space, so that's sun water that's in the little jar, and then obviously all the flowers and everything to represent spring. And also this stag represents like, you know, spring and everything as well. For me, represents nature, the forest, and like woodland, and I love woodland creatures and the forest. And I've also got my little robin ornament as well on the altar, because robins have quite an importance in our family. Like my grandma and grandpa love them, I love them, we have them in our garden, they had them in their garden, and they're just one of my favourite little birds. And I'm just deciding where I want to add more flowers. I've got these little fake roses, little artificial roses that I was going to include on the altar space. These are from like a garland that I've got in my front room, and I just took off the roses that are behind ornaments or behind the clock on the mantelpiece. Basically the roses that get in the way are the ones I took off the vine and then left the rest on. So that gave me 4 that I could use on this space, and I liked having the pink. I think the light pink and the dark pink works really well. And then I've got my charcoal burner at the front with a candle in, because I can't use charcoal or incense at the moment, so I've just got a candle in there. I did light the incense stick obviously at the start of the video, but put it out straight away. I just don't want to upset my asthma, so I haven't got it lit. And then I completely changed my mind. So I took off the stuff that's in the centre just to make space. And what I decided to do was use the spring cloche that I made, the spring themed cloche, which I made to go on the altar space. I'll put the link in the description for how I made it. So here it is, and it's the stag ornament with the roses, the robin, and a couple of other little creatures dotted about, some leaves, a couple of little vines, and some fairy lights. And I repainted the base of my cloche, because this used to be black and have the skull with the dripping candles on it inside that I did for Halloween last year. So instead I've decided to turn it into a piece that I can use for display on my altar. And what I'll do is probably keep it permanently on my altar and then just change what's inside the cloche for the seasons or the Sabbats. All I forgot to do is put the eggs back in. So there's 2 eggs at the back, and I wanted to put 1 Easter egg at the front, well, Ostara egg at the front, on where between the 2 roses, to represent the season. But I forgot to put that back in when I put the lid on. But that's okay. That's easy enough to just take the lid off and pop that in. On the left is a little musical thing that I made. It's got little bunny rabbits in, and it's 2 little bunny rabbits and like a little woodland scene. It's like their little woodland house, and it's a little music box thing. It came in a kit that I put together a couple of years back, and I put that on the altar so I can have like little bunny rabbits on my altar to represent the season. Because obviously it's a time of baby rabbits and the Easter bunny and all that sort of thing, depending on what tradition you follow. Because obviously at the same time it's Easter pretty much for Christians as well. It's just a little bit later than Ostara. And I put my sunflowers on the back. I did play around with these a little bit because I ideally wanted them the same height, but I just didn't have anything that I could use to put them at the same height, so I just accepted that they're not going to be. I've kept my little dish with the potpourri and the little eggshell that I found. I left that on the altar space as well as the crystals that I'd originally picked out. And also got my sun water on there to represent obviously the spring and the returning of the warmth of the sun. And then after playing around for a bit with positioning this sunflower, I was happy with where it was and just left it in the end lower down than the other one. I figured it still works all right. The rabbit on the corner that's like painted funny colours, that's a money box that my daughter painted when she was probably about, I don't know, 3 years old, something like that. And I've had it for years, and I found it underneath a cupboard the other day. So I decided to put that on display as well. And this is what it looks like when it's lit up in the evening. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Blessed be, and bye for now.